Hi, my name is Heidi Shorts, and I'd like to welcome you to our first creative lettering art lesson. I know that some of you are probably wondering, what is creative lettering? You've never heard of it before. I know how to write, I can print, I can write in cursive. What's so creative about that, and what does that have to do with art? Well, I'm excited to share with you some tips and techniques that will help take your lettering to a whole new level, and I think you'll be really surprised with the results. You know, writing has been around for a really long time, long before the computer and long before the printing press was even invented. People were communicating with words. At first it was the spoken word, but after a time people really wanted to save what they had to say. And so writing developed, and so did reading. And as people wrote more and more, not only was there meaning attached to the words, but there was meaning in the letters themselves, the way they were formed and the way they were decorated. And so we're going to have so much fun looking at how important those words are. As a matter of fact, the Bible tells us that Jesus is the Word of God. He's the most important message that God could give us to be written on our hearts and in our lives. Isn't that an awesome connection? So we're going to begin, and we're going to begin with the Christmas season. We're thinking about the birth of Jesus. And so a good place for us to look as we think about our lettering is with a word, and the word we're going to look at is rejoice. Rejoice means to be full of joy. When you think of that first Christmas and the shepherds out on the hills above Bethlehem and the angel coming to them, he said to them, rejoice, be full of joy, because a Savior's been born for you. So we're going to take rejoice and we're going to learn some lettering skills. So this is where we start. We need some materials. So let's take a look at what we're going to need in order to create some beautiful lettering. The first thing that you need is some plain paper. Computer paper is great. You can use scrap paper, it really doesn't matter, but any light colored paper will be perfect. You'll also need a number 2 pencil. This is a regular kind of pencil that you might use in school. You'll need a ruler. Any kind of ruler will work just fine. You'll need some colored pencils. I have a couple different kinds right here to show you. These are boxes of 12. It doesn't really matter what the company is, but a good assortment of colored pencils will be a great tool for you to use. We're also going to be using extreme colors. These are really special colored pencils, and we'll be using those as well. As a matter of fact, we'll be calling these extreme colors or extreme pencils, and we'll be calling our regular colored pencils regular colors. You'll also need a pencil sharpener, a white eraser, which is really great for taking off your pencil lines and making adjustments. And your last tool is a black light. If you don't have one of these, you can get one at the See the Light store. Let's get started. Now, as you can see, I'm starting with a larger piece of paper. That's because I want you to be able to see what I'm doing from where you're sitting. I've also turned my paper in a direction that's called landscape style. When you're an artist, you can turn your paper up and down, which is called portrait style, or you can turn it sideways, and that's called landscape. And for this lesson, we are doing landscape style. So here's my paper. Now, first thing we're going to do is take your number 2 pencil, and we are going to create 2 lines. I'm also going to use my ruler. The 2 lines are going to be along the bottom of my paper. Now, from where you're sitting, you can't see anything on my paper, and that's because I've used guidelines. Guidelines are very, very light pencil lines that I can see, but that you can't. Guidelines are great because they help me to place my letters in the proper position, and they also help me to make adjustments because sometimes I make mistakes and I want to make some changes, and guidelines help me to do that. So what I'd like you to do is, with your pencil and with your ruler if you'd like to, we're going to create 2 long parallel lines along the bottom of your paper. Now, my guidelines are going to get a lot darker just because I want you to be able to see them. I have 1 long line here and 1 long line here. If you're using a ruler, you might make the distance between your 2 lines about 1.5 inches or 2 inches. As you can see, my lines are not perfectly straight, and yours don't have to be either, but you want them basically about the same distance apart as they travel across your page. Now, I realize that my pencil may not be as easy to see at home as it is for me, so I'm going to trade my regular pencil for a colored pencil that's a lot darker. You'll want to continue to use your number 2 pencil, but for what I'm doing, I'm going to use this nice dark pencil. Now we're going to take our word rejoice and we're going to space it out so that each letter is even. We are going to start with the letter R. We have 7 letters, and we're going to start here at the beginning. I'm going to start at my top line. I'm going to draw a straight line from this down to this and stop. Then I'm going to come back up to the top, and I'm going to make a nice big bump that comes around and stops at about the halfway point on this line. Now I'm going to do something kind of funny. I'm going to leave it alone. I know it looks like a P, but for right now, we're going to leave this letter alone and we'll come back to it later. Now I'm going to scoot over a little ways to start my next letter. I'm going to start at the top again, straight line down to my bottom line. Then I'm going to go across 3 times. 1, 2, and 3. And now I have a capital E. I'm going to scoot over a little ways again. I'm going to keep in mind that I'd like about the same space between each of my letters. Okay, we're coming to our 3rd letter. We're going to be making a J. We're going to start up at the top at the same line. We're going to come down straight, but as we get closer to our bottom line, we're going to hook over and make a curve so we have the bottom of our J. Now, the next letter is an O, and there are lots of ways to write. People have different styles. Sometimes when people write an O, they make an oval. Sometimes they make a circle. For the purpose of our word rejoice, we're going to be making a nice big fat circle right here in the middle. So we're going to start at the top. We're going to come around, touch the bottom, keep going around to the other side and up to the top. So now we have an O. We're going to scoot over a little ways further, start at the top, come down straight. We have a capital I. Scoot over about the same distance, and we're going to start at the top. It's almost like you're starting an O again. You're going to come up here, make your curve, touch the bottom, and stop. One more letter, a little bit of a scoot over, start at the top, straight down, across, across, and across. You've now created some simple block letters that are capitals. Capitals catch your attention. Now sometimes you might want lettering that's really beautiful, or you might want something that's a little more formal, or maybe lighthearted and fun. A lot of what we do with creative lettering is we get to express the idea behind the words. We want rejoice to be bold, and so capitals are a really good choice. Now I know it's really bothering you. You're looking at this and saying, that P, that's not right. We need to make that into an R. Well, now's the chance for us to do that. We're going to come back to where the bump and the line meet. And instead of making a straight line like a lot of capitals, we're going to take this line and we're going to curve it slightly so that it comes down and around and under so that it frames the bottom of the letter E. Already you are starting to do some creative lettering. You are taking plain letters and you're dressing them up and giving them some personality. You're doing a great job. If you want to make some adjustments now, you can do that. You can erase some of your lines, move things around if you'd like to. The next step is taking some lines and placing them to the side of each of our shapes in order to kind of beef up our letters a little bit and give them some more weight and some more personality. I'm going to start back at the beginning with the letter R, and I'm going to come over a little ways from the first line that I created, and I'm going to make a line that is parallel to my first line. On my paper, it's about a ½ an inch apart. On your paper, it might be about a ¼ of an inch. So it's not very wide. And then I'm going to connect the top, and the bottom. So I've now made a thicker space to the left of my capital R. I'm going to scoot over now to my capital E, and I'm going to do the same thing. It's almost like I'm echoing that line that I've already put into place. I'm going to close up the top, I'm going to close up the bottom. Now when I come over to the letter J, it's a little bit different. It starts out straight, just like these two letters, but I have this hook on the bottom. So what I want to do is start straight, and then as I meet the curve, my line gets narrower and narrower until I just have this little skinny space. Close the top. Already you can see how our letters are starting to take shape. Uh-oh, what happens when we get to the O? I have nothing but curves. I don't have any straight lines. How do I do that? Well, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to be creating this space, but because we have the curve, it's going to be the widest on the sides and the narrowest at the top and the bottom. So I'm going to start here at the top. I'm going to swing my arm around. I'm going to give myself a nice wide space here and then come back around to where it's skinny on the bottom again. And then I'm going to repeat on the opposite side. Start at the top, nice and wide on the side, and skinny at the bottom. You're doing a great job. You're over halfway. Here we go. I bet you could do this without any instruction. Straight line top, down to the bottom, close the top, close the bottom. All right? Next letter C, just like doing half of an O. Starting at the top, skinny, getting wider at the side, skinny again at the bottom. And because you've already made a capital E, we're going to make the same thing again. So we could stop right there. This looks great. We've got letters with some personality. They're catching your attention, but we're not finished yet. I'm going to come back over because I think I want to add a little more weight to my letter R. Now that we know how to do curves, I'm going to make a curve on this bump here. Wider in the middle, narrower where my 2 points start and stop. And I think I want to make a little more weight here on this curve. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to start skinny here, wider here, and skinnier near the bottom. My word is really starting to come together, and I'm sure yours is too. Now, you probably have never thought about adding math to your writing skills, but we're going to add a little bit of math here. We're going to add some triangles. As you know, a triangle is a three-sided shape where the sides are all straight, and we're going to add some little triangles all over to give our letters even more personality. At the top of my R, at the very beginning, I'm going to come over a little ways and back over to my shape so that I have a little bitty triangle. I'm going to come down to the bottom, straight line out from the bottom, connect it to that nice thick place that we just created a little while ago. Over to the other side, straight line, angled line. Now we have three triangles that have now given some more definition to our letter R. Over here at the E, I'm going to start at the top, come back, and straight down. At the bottom, come back, straight down. And then right here in the middle, I'm going to make a triangle where I have this side, and my straight line here. Over to my J, I'm going to come out a little ways, back to my J with an angled line, come out over here, back to my J with an angled line. Matter of fact, I think I want to put one right here too. There's another little triangle. O, no triangle. Let's go back over to our I. Come out over the top, little triangle. Over to this side, little triangle. Same thing on the bottom. As you're continuing to add triangles to your letters, you may notice that they're different sizes. Sometimes they're a little larger, sometimes a little smaller. But because you've been writing with a number 2 pencil and you've been using really light guidelines, this is a good time for you to start checking and adjusting. You might want to erase a little bit with your white eraser and fixing those triangles so that they are more the same size. But I'm not finished, so let me keep going. I'm going to add some triangles to the C. I'm going to do this a little differently because I have some curved places on the ends of my C's. I'm going to come across the top here where it's straight and then come down with a straight line. Here at the bottom, I'm going to come over, straight line, okay? And now I'll do the same thing with my E as I did here. I'm going to come down with an angle, straight line, back with an angle, straight line, and now my little triangle right there in the middle. So we have the word rejoice. It looks terrific. And I'm thinking that you are already surprised by the work of your hands. Now, this word not only looks great the way it is now, but we think it's going to look so much better with color, don't we? So what I'd like you to do is choose a color that you like to color in all those spaces that you've created. You may want to stop and make some adjustments before you do that, but you may fill in any of those spaces that have been created in each of your letters. But let's leave the O alone. This letter is a special letter. We're going to do something special to it in just a couple minutes. So take the time to choose a color and color these 3 letters and these 3 letters, leaving this one alone. I'm going to be using red because this is such a bold word and these letters are nice bold capitals, and I think of red as a bold color, but you can use what you like, okay? So while you're doing that, I am going to flip my page over and I'm going to show you what it looks like in color. Okay? I know it looks kind of funny without that O, but you'll understand why in just a minute. Okay? So after you've colored in all of your letters, you're ready for us to do the O. Now an O is a great letter. It has lots of room inside. That's why we made it nice and fat and round. We're going to do something special with this letter O. We're going to be creating what's called an illuminated letter. Now, to illuminate means to focus on something or call attention to it. And sometimes you do that with light. For example, if you're out camping and you're out at night and you need to find your way back to the tent, you might use a flashlight to illuminate your way. You need that light to focus on the path in front of you, to call attention to where you're walking. Illuminating is a great thing, and we are going to illuminate a letter. We're going to illuminate what is going to take place in the center of the O. When you create a word and use illuminated letters, you want to make sure that what you're illustrating will add to the meaning of the word rather than take away from it. If you get too busy and add too many things, then you can't read the word, and then what's the point of having something that's beautifully written? So we want to keep our picture simple. Now, rejoice, as we've said, ties in with Christmas, and we think about the birth of baby Jesus. And so we're going to be drawing baby Jesus within the outline of our letter O. Now, to do that, I'm going to go back to my dark pencil, but you're going to be using your number 2 pencil, and you're going to be drawing nice and light. And we're going to start at the bottom, and I'm going to create a nice big bump down here. And actually that's going to represent the body of the baby, and it's also going to be where the cloth is. We're going to create another bump here, and this will represent the head, and then another little bump here to represent an ear. Okay, so you can see how this is beginning to take shape. Now behind baby Jesus, we're going to draw 2 lines across my O behind the baby. Okay? Now comes the fun part. We're going to start adding some color. I'm going to come over here to my colors, and I'm first of all going to take one of my extreme colors. There is a yellow in here that is called Lemon Glacier. And we're going to take Lemon Glacier and we are going to color above the head. Now yours will not smear because you have written so lightly with your guidelines. Okay. And now you're going to stop. We're going to put this back. And now we're going to pick up a regular colored pencil that is brown. Let's pop up here for just a minute and let's create our wood. Sometimes I like to work from the top down because then my colors don't get smeared. And it's fun to start to add the details. Now, in order for this to look like wood, I'm going to go back over my guidelines with brown. And I'm going to be careful not to run into my yellow. Okay? And now I'm going to add some short, irregular, wavy lines to my top board. Okay? You can see how it's starting to look a little bit more like wood. And then in the second section, I'm going to make kind of a long, squiggly V. Almost looks like a bird flying. Inside that, I'm going to make another one and another one with a few more squiggly lines. And then down here, there's not much room, but I'm going to put a few here. And now, when I color it in, I'm going to color lightly with the same brown, but I'm just not going to press as hard. And so where I have those squiggly lines, where I have those V shapes, it starts to look like the grain of wood and makes you feel like maybe you're really in the stable right there with Jesus. I'm going to be careful here. I don't want to run into that bright yellow. Okay. Now, we're ready for the next step. I'm going to come down here next, and I want to do the cloth that's wrapping baby Jesus. And you know, when I think of colors to choose, I really could choose anything. We don't know the color of the fabric for sure, but I'm going to choose purple because purple is the color of royalty. And Jesus, after all, is the Prince of Peace and the King of Kings. So I think it's an appropriate color for him. So I'm going to take my purple and I'm going to shade in this cloth that he's wrapped in. And you can take your time and be very careful with this. I'm doing it a little more quickly than maybe you would be because I want to be able to go on to the next instruction for you. Okay? Now I'm going to take a colored pencil for the skin tone. I can probably use a lot of different colored pencils. Depending on how hard or how light I press, I can get a lot of different shades of tans and browns. I think I'm going to use this brown, and I'm going to lightly shade in the face and in the ear. Okay? And now I want to give it some more personality. I'm going to go back to the black colored pencil. This is my regular colored pencil. We only used extreme color right here at the top. So now we have a regular black pencil, and I'm going to go back in. I'm going to give Jesus sleepy eyes. I'm going to give him a little bit of hair. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to put some folds in the fabric so that it stands out. Okay? And you know, I know that when baby Jesus was born, a stable was a place that had lots of animals. He was laid in the trough where the animals ate. So I'm thinking that I might want to add some hay or some straw underneath him to represent that. And you can use several different colors for that. You can use a regular brown, a regular yellow, and a regular orange because straw kind of has all those different shades. So I'm going to come out here underneath, and I'm just going to make some short little lines to represent the straw or the hay. I think I'll use lots of yellow. Okay, there we go. Now I think you can probably see now why I had you wait to do the color on the letter O, because we had that straw in the way and we wanted to make sure that we got those details in place. So I'm going to go back now to my regular pencil red. And if you've chosen a different color, then you want to pick the one that you were using. And we're going to come back in now, and now's a great time for us to color in that letter and complete this stage of our lettering You want to be really careful as you work around the straw. Instead of coloring right over it, you want to color in between so that you can see all those details. You took the time and did those carefully, so you don't want to miss anything. So here we go on this side, up at the top, and scoot it over. To this side, almost done. You're doing a beautiful job. Okay, almost. Okay, our letter O is complete. Now I'm thinking as I look at it, I want to make it a little bit darker. You can do that too. Take your time and do what needs to be done to make it your very best work. Awesome. Okay, now as wonderful as this is looking, we're not quite done yet. We're going to add some more guidelines for one very special element in our creative lettering, and that's the Star of Bethlehem. Above Jesus, we're going to put a star high up in the sky. So what I'd like you to do is go back to your number 2 pencil. I'm going to go back to my black pencil so that you can see. And we're going to create a star up here high in the sky, straight up from where Jesus is asleep. Now, there are lots of ways to make stars, and I know that. And I could show you some very amazing things, but I want to keep it really simple for today because we do not want to take away from our word. So the way that we're going to start is up here high in the sky. I'm going to create 2 long lines that touch at the top at a point and spread out near the bottom. Here's one long leg, and here's the other long leg. Okay? Now, I'm going to come up right near the top, and I'm going to cross my 2 lines with a shorter line. So now it looks almost like 2 legs and 2 little arms, okay? Now we're going to connect those points. This arm connects down here to this arm, or excuse me, to this leg, and this arm connects down to this leg. Now we're almost finished. Where these 2 connect, where these 2 cross, we're going to make another straight line, just like the first. And then we're going to come back up here and connect, and here and connect. So now we have a star that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points. We have a lot of space to have a nice bright star shine above Jesus. Now, because you've used your nice like guidelines with your number 2 pencil, this is a great time for you to erase all of these marks inside. I'm not going to be able to do that with this particular pencil, but you can do that at home, and then you have a nice bright star. Now, below that, we're going to make some rays. Our star is shining down on top of Jesus, on top of the letter O. I just need a couple of guidelines to help me know where I'm going with that. Now comes the fun part. We're going to go back to our extreme colors, and we're going to be filling in that star and those rays of light with these great bright colors. So here are my extreme colors, and I think I'm going to use some oranges and this yellow. These are wonderful. We've got lemon glacier, we've got sizzling sunset, and we've got heat wave. I love these colors. I think I'm going to start with this nice sunset, sizzling sunset, and I'm going to give my star a hefty portion of color in the center. Okay, and then I'm going to come down here by my guidelines, and I'm going to make some rays shining down. Okay, I think I'll switch now to heat wave, and I'm going to start making some little short lines bursting out from the star to represent the way the star is shining. And then I want to make sure that I have some of that here as my rays shine down on the stable. And my last color, got this great lemon. Oh my gosh, my star is shining so brightly. I can add color in here. And then in between the colors that I've already created, this is going to be one bright star. But the Star of Bethlehem was a very bright star. Okay. I think I might have enough. Okay. Now, not only is it brightly shining in the sky, but the light is shining down here not only on the baby, but also on the top of the O. It's looking pretty good. Okay, one other thing I'd like you to try. I'm going to put these back, and in your box is one blue pencil. This one is called Absolute Zero. How's that for a name of a blue pencil? And I'm going to go over this purple with a little bit of Absolute Zero. It makes my purple look darker and deeper. And because it's one of my extreme colors, it's going to do something special to my picture. Now that we have some blue over the entire blanket or cloth that the baby Jesus is wrapped in, we're going to put this color down. We're going to take another extreme color that we already used. This is the Heat Wave, and we're going to lightly go over the skin of the face and the ear. Okay. So you have now creatively written the word rejoice. You have Jesus in the center of the word. Great place for him to be, just like he should be in the center of our lives. And now we're going to have fun. Time for you to pull out your black light, and let's see what we have. Now you've created rejoice, you've created baby Jesus, the Star of Bethlehem, and with your extreme colors and the black light, you now have the light of the world. I hope that you enjoyed the lesson today. I hope that you gained some skills that you can use again. Think about words that you want to write, have fun practicing, and have a Merry Christmas.